All right, let's start to our conversation, an African perspective with Christelle. Oh shoot, I should have practiced.
Yeah.
Dreyer, and Joseph Tebandeke. And welcome to the fourth day of the fifth X-Dance Festival. My name is Siva Laukkanen. I am the board president of Chaos Company and Danceability Finland, and I'm honored to host this conversation with these two dear friends. We're just gonna go and introduce Christelle and Joseph, and they're gonna do it themselves. So, Christelle, go ahead.
There are 1.4 billion people that live on the African continent. It's the world's second largest and second most populous continent and has 54 countries. It covers 20% of Earth's land area. So this session of an African perspective comes from two places. I am Christelle Dreyer. I am a dancer and a graphic designer from Cape Town, South Africa. My dancing spans 25 years across various dance styles. I'm going to try and list some of them if I remember them. Ballroom, Latin, contemporary, physical theatre, contact improv, aerial arts, breakdancing, hip hop. And then I'm an actress as well, so I do acting as well. So that's a mouthful. And then I'm a graphic designer. I design for various people. Lately, a lot of my design work has been for people within the arts, dancers, producers, actors, and all of those people. And I am really passionate about dance. I think that's evident by the fact that I'm here. And I look forward to sharing some of my perspective with you.
Let's look at some of her work because we hardly ever get to see. We always listen. So we decided that we're going to show some of their work. Crystal, you made that just before the pandemic?
I made that just during the pandemic, just about after the official lockdown that we had for a month, and we just started being able to leave our houses. And I made it because we were all stuck indoors. I guess everybody had a similar experience. We were all stuck indoors for a very long time. And as scary and as frustrating as it was, it became some sort of a comfort zone. And then when you kind of had to come out from your house, there was this feeling of, this is the world. I want to go back inside. This people, it just felt weird. And you were like, what's happening? And you were timid in a way, scared of what's waiting outside of the world, in the world. And yeah.
Thank you. Joseph.
I'm Tebandeke Joseph, and I'm from Uganda, in the city Kampala. That's in East Africa. I'm a dancer, I'm a choreographer. I love to do research more about dance and to find out more about bodies. And yeah, I think that's me.
Share a little bit how you ended in the dance world.
It's funny because I did not start with dance. I started as an athlete. I was doing wheelchair racing. I grew up in a family that always pushed us to be someone in this world. So after school I joined wheelchair racing as an athlete, and I hated it. I wasn't happy in it. I got gold medals. I went into international competitions, but I did not like it. I didn't have a life in it. But what changed my life, I remember, I'll share it with you. It was this. I used to do gatherings for people with and without disabilities, because I always believed the more I share and the more I listen to people, I always get comfort. I always get to be more strong from these sharings. So I used to do gatherings, and people would just come and to share your life. How was your week? How was your family? And there's one girl who stood and asked me. She told me, yes, what you're doing is very nice. You've let us feel like we can do something in this world, and we want to be you, but our bodies are really so weak. We can't do what you're doing. If you could help me do something for me, find what I can do. And I didn't know by that time what I could do. But after 2 weeks, I was invited by there's a lady who came. She was called Monica. She came from Sweden. She wanted to introduce dance and contemporary in Africa. And they invited me because I was famous. They just wanted news. But it helped me out. Yes, because I was like, should I go? Okay, I'll just be there. But when I was there, I was like, when she was explaining this contemporary dance, the way she was moving in space, she was connecting with her body, and I'm like, this is it, this is it, this is it. So actually I loved it. I loved to find the answer for the girl. I loved it more than the girl, because I needed to know it more, so that, because there are no teachers, there are no schools in Uganda for dance. So I needed to find more details and more information so that I could take the right information to her. In the process of doing that, I just fall in love with dance again and again and again and again. Yeah, so that's how I ended up in dance. Yeah.
So let's look some of Joseph's work. Right. Do you want to talk about that work a little bit?
As I went on trying to understand dance, I realized that I needed to know about myself, and the work is called Firefly, and like it's more of self-actualization. I needed to know my body. I needed to understand its ability before I take it into anything else. I needed to appreciate it. I needed to love it, no matter what people around me say or the feedback I get. So it was about our self-actualization. Do we love who we are? Do we understand our bodies? So the work is moving around that. Yeah. I came to realize that, as I mentioned yesterday, that we are so disconnected to the space, to the environment, that we don't even know who we are. We think we know, but we don't. We've not given ourselves enough time to appreciate who we are. Yes.
So when we were preparing for this interview or this conversation, we realized that we kind of need to tell you all about our history and how we all three are connected. So I moved to South Africa when I was in 2000 for the first time. And 2003, I worked with the inclusive dance company, one of the first inclusive dance companies in Cape Town called Remix Dance Company. And Christelle actually, so we have a very common friend. We have a common friend. From Remix, one of the founders, Malcolm Black. And so in 2018,
80 before COVID, 18, 19.
yeah, Christelle and I met because I was interviewing her for the book that Maya is actually also in, Breath of Bodies. And then Christelle and I ended up talking and chatting and continuing our thing. And in 2020, we started an organization called Practice Art Together. So we co-founded during the pandemic an organization and got funding for it. And since that, and then 2019, I was in Cape Town and we organized a jam together. And that's actually what we were like, hey, let's do this more.
Yeah, we have fun together. Yeah, let's do this. Yeah.
So then 2020, Practice Art was born.
The interesting thing about Practice Art is I live in Cape Town, South Africa, and she lives in the US, and we literally continents apart, different time zones, but we started Practice Art, and we haven't seen each other in 3 years.
Yeah.
And we started it.
But we Zoom every week.
Every week.
So then I met Joseph when I was producing 2021 X Dance Festival. And we were like, hey, I like you. Should we work more together? So now we have wrapped Joseph into Practice Art. And so we are all working together and we actually meet weekly. So we know each other and each other's work pretty well. So that's how I'm in this.
And I think it has always been great. We get so much support from the people around us, and here we are.
So one of the questions was like, what issues dominate and limit the work in the Africa? And Christelle was this morning like, the same issues than everywhere: access, money, space, but just in a totally different level. Thank you.
Or degree of difficulty.
Yeah. And so then we started talking about these things. And she was like, well, I don't know, do we need to really talk about that? So then we were like, well, we know each other way too well. So we wanted to also invite, if you have a question for them, please ask it. Because we were like, well, I don't know what to do. We don't know what to talk about. But then when I was actually watching this video and thinking about our past, it made me realize that what is very different and what issues actually dominate, a lot of it is like access to internet, reliable internet. Access to, you have constantly power cuts many a day.
11 hours a day.
11 hours, no power.
Yeah.
You have bad internet connection.
Unstable.
And so while you are more connected to the rest of the world, I think that is still a very different and challenging issue. Do you have anything to say about that?
The world has become smaller because of the internet and social media and technology. It has become smaller. I don't think that we would have been able to communicate and meet all these different people that we have if it wasn't for all of that. But for us to gain access to these things is extremely difficult. We don't have the strong infrastructure when it comes to internet. For Joseph, it's internet is not as strong as you guys know internet to be. For me, it has a lot to do with power and electricity. We go without electricity up to 11 hours a day. So those are not things that are given to us. We have to navigate them, figure it out, challenges, and if it doesn't happen, we are disconnected from the world. And then we end up not being part of a community because of those external challenges.
Right.
During times when I'm doing research, I love to talk to the elders, the old people. I love to call them this is what we call them, the elders. And one of them told me, your generation is so lucky that you can access or learn anything from wherever you are. But in Africa, you don't talk back to the elders. No, you don't. That you will be considered to be disrespectful. But I feel, yes, we are, and that will be a very great advantage. But I feel since we don't have like the access in the studio, the school, the dance schools, I have to access. It feels as like something simple to start with, but then you will see that in my country, it's also like you get a lot of hardships to be on these online classes to access this information. And there's something I would love to share that recently happened, that people were using a lot of social media to throw off the president, like saying you're a dictator, what you're doing is not great. And the president banned social media in our country, so to be on social media you have to pay for it, so you get a lot of limit. I'm not interested in throwing off the president. I want to use the social media to show that I need access, I need a life, I need to be me, but still I also, that takes me still in this, it becomes also problematic. So yeah, it feels as something simple, but you see that I'll still need, like I still get problems accessing the internet. Yeah, and I need it.
And I have to say, like, we've been working since 2020 together, but because of these things, time and productivity, what I have learned and in a Western world grow up to be the good one, you gotta let it go, because we have worked, so we are producing this book of one of the founders of another dance company in Cape Town who is deaf, and we've been doing it for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And just because the time constraints, the power cuts, the lack of technology, this is how it is. But we're both like actually really cool with that and be like, well, this is what it is.
No,
it comes out when it comes out.
It has been giving us a lot of hard time. I remember times when we're like, we need to do this, we're on deadline, and we say, Sylvia, can we meet this day? Yes. And on the day, it's like, Krista cannot do it, the power cut. And when you get Krista, Sylvia is busy, so.
And we busy.
Like, when are we going to do this?
We're in the middle of a Zoom and then Joseph disappears. Yeah.
That's it.
And the other thing that I think when working with you two is that the systems and the laws that are there to protect you as disabled artists. Like Joseph, you got accepted to school and then dance school, and then a couple of weeks later they're like, no, you can't
horrible.
come because you're disabled.
That
and that was it.
That was horrible, and it really pissed me off because this is one of the only African school dance school we have. If you want to apply to anything in Europe, they ask you for a recommendation from this school, and it's not yes. They'll be like, "Have you gone through this school?" I'm like, no, mama. But so what I did was, I think it was my fault, but I don't think it was. What I did, I really wanted to have a class or to teach them or to get experience from them to share. And I applied, but I did not mention my disability. And they were like all excited. No, no, we want your experience. Come, 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 you know. And then I told them, there's something you need to know. And they're like, we're sorry, because we can't get you. And I'm like,
But
yeah,
I do
so
the same thing. If I want to apply for things and I have the slightest instinct that being disabled is going to be a problem, work applications, things like that, I don't mention it until I absolutely have to. And they're excited to accept your application until they discover.
no, it
Yeah.
made me very pissed because like this is in Africa, we're not talking in Europe. Because I knew what was already happening there. They don't have wheelchairs, they don't have like ramps. I knew what was like the surface is rough. I knew, but I just want, I'll figure it out. I'll find my way. Let me learn. Let me write my own story from this ground. Give me that experience. So that what pissed me off because I know it's in Africa. It's not accessible anywhere. And then you're trying to show me that you understand that, then you can't get me there. So it really pissed me off, and it showed me the huge gap we still need to cover.
Yeah, and it was really difficult because we were working together. I was like, there must be something, like this cannot be legally,
I remember that.
you
That
know,
was
like,
very pissing. Yeah.
so there's that system is not built there to protect you and give you the same rights to begin with. And I think that's fundamentally very, very different experience.
And you realize that's why that when you look at our work, we've been traveling in Europe and so much, but it's always a question I ask myself: what if I can't travel anymore? Then am I not going to show my work? Am I not going to enjoy what I love to do? So I think this is also, we need, as artists from Africa, from Uganda, from South Africa, we also need to look at this, how we need to bring this love of our work, of this dance, to the people around us, because they don't know what we're doing. I think that's why they don't find value in it.
And I just want to make an observation or make something clear to you guys. As you watched our videos, you notice that our videos are solos because we don't always, most of the time, we don't have access to other artists. If we don't do our own thing or push ourselves to do something, nothing will happen because we don't have the support of someone saying we're going to help you with this or we're going to do it with you. So a lot of our work ended up being solo.
No, and if I could add something just a little bit, and in my country, it will be like, yes, you will find them, but I feel people with disabilities have already got frustrated because they've been used. Let me use that word. Like, oh, we have an event, we want people with disabilities. They take a lot of pictures of them, like put your leg up.
Yeah.
We need good pictures for the funders.
We want
So
to show
they're
them, yeah.
really they every time you say there is an event, they're like, now they're going to take pictures of me. They want to, so now they choose to stay in their rooms, in there, and they miss out. Yes, this has led them to miss so many good opportunities, but still we have to look at that has made them stay away.
Because you get chosen to prove that they want to prove that they are equitable. Equity is a big thing in South Africa. Equity, but they're not equitable. They are creating the picture of equity and all of that. So they will invite you to events. When they see you at the event, they'll take photos of you. They can prove to people that you're at the event. And so they have everybody at
But
this
like
event.
Sylvia, you say that the system is not there to protect us, because I feel like one of the best way I can bring out this, it's not like they're not doing it for the goodwill. We would love to be on certain events for the opportunities, but the way they're trying to do it is not, wouldn't be the right way, So
So what are some of your future dreams? What do you want to see? What are the biggest improvements that you want to see in your countries when it comes to your work?
That's a very huge
Oh.
question. Like, why am I saying it's a huge question? Because yes, you have, I call them fantasy dreams. But when you really think and you put it technically, you see that there is still huge and a lot we still have to do as artists. Because when you say, okay, I want to have a center where everyone can access information, I'm just bringing a rough picture, where everyone can have access studio, access information. But then when you think about technically, we don't even have the simplest things to start with. For example, like, we first of all we need to first do the community awareness for the parents who have people with disabilities, because they just lock them in the house, they don't let them out. So when you do that, then it won't be useful because they won't let
And
the children
also,
out.
access to the studio. Transport in Africa is not you. There'll be a studio, but nobody will be physically able to get there.
Don't even talk about the public transport.
Yeah, there is
Don't talk
nothing
about
like
that.
public
Don't talk
transport.
about that. Yes, the transport is there, but I'll quickly shed something rough for you. If you're using a public, because we have taxis, like it takes 14 people. This is the very common one. You have to be
Skoro.
you have to be on the road, but it doesn't stop because it has to rush to pick very many people. They need to get to make money, so you have to jump to the taxi, and the door is this small. Like, how are you going to do that with your wheelchair?
And
Like,
if you have a wheelchair, and they do stop you, they're gonna charge you to get in. They're gonna charge your wheelchair to get in because your wheelchair is another seat.
and if you find someone who is like, oh, I'm kind, we stop, we take them, then they have to make 3 people sit on you, because you sit on each other, like, can I sit here?
Because your
like,
wheel,
you're like, yeah, so this is so don't go there. This would be a very huge topic. Yeah, so it's interesting. I love my country.
But yeah, your dream is this center that has access to the computers, dance studio,
Where
books.
people can come and share with everyone. There's something I always feel is very, very, very important. Every time you spend time, for example, when we come to the workshop together with a person with a disability, whatever task you're doing, you're getting awareness. We don't, because I feel we've been using wrong methods to tell people that I'm human, I live, it's not contagious, and it has not been working. So we need to change the way we're doing things. Otherwise, it's just going to continue and again and again and again. So I feel the more we come close, eating together, you go back with a different mentality. They've not pushed information in you. This is what you should do. You should handle people like this. But here, you've chosen it. You're like, should I touch your chair because I want to feel it? Should I? And like, you're teaching even yourself. I feel like we need to have more things that are making us interact, come together and share. It's not only in bars. Social life. So you will always get something. You will understand that these people are even more sweeter than. I didn't say anything. Yes, so you know
Yeah,
what I
this
mean.
social. Now I'm losing a word.
You will find it.
Like how you're saying that it's actually still true that people with disabilities are locked in the houses. And I know this from my own experience.
Yes, it's happening.
Living in
This
a 6 months
generation,
in a community and knowing that there was a child with a disability who was never out.
It's hard to walk 3 houses from your neighborhood and you don't find a person chained with a disability. So it's still happening. So now when you want to create change, you ask yourself, how am I supposed to start even?
So can I just share a story? I was part of a cultural exchange, and I went to Zambia, and I was tasked to go into communities and find disabled children and inspire them, or try and get them out of their homes, or get their parents to see that, they can grow up to be adults that do things. And I was there for 2 weeks, and there's no such thing as a tarred road or a accessible road. It's just gravel, stone, and it's you walking between shacks, and there's no way I can get my wheelchair through there. And so I'm being accompanied by 3 acrobat dancers. So they're physically strong enough to help me navigate that. But I go with my wheelchair. And we went almost every day, and I never found a single child because I never saw. And we asked people, nobody would say anything. But there's no way in a community that's not at least one kid that's disabled. They're there. We couldn't find them.
In special rooms.
And when I was on our downtime, we were doing the social thing. They were showing me Zambia and all the local hangout spots, and we went into a shebeen, not to like drink or get drunk or anything, just for the experience of going in there. And I went in there, and the shock and the awe from the community for me to go to be there with my chair. And I'm African, but I'm very light the complexion, and my wheelchair is shiny. Those people were touching me, and I couldn't deal, but I knew it was part of the process. So I just absorbed as much as I could, because they were so in awe. Like, it was complete shock to them. So it's someone like me is a complete mystery to them, or even Joseph or any of us. It just doesn't.
The reason why,
Yeah.
I love to share all these examples is I want to show you a very clear picture. Yes, there are times when you push, like today I'm pushing, I have to go to these parents, talk to them. At least these children attend one of my class, and the parents' response would be like, can you keep them? If you're taking her, can you stay with them forever?
They will
it's like
give them away.
it's a burden to them.
Yeah.
So they just want to find any opportunity that takes them away. And this is a huge, it's a huge thing, and it's hard to explain.
The social stigma is huge around disability still.
Yes, yeah,
And
it's huge. If I could share something else
yeah.
to show you how bad it is. There's a time I was dating someone, and we were walking on street, and someone shouted to the girl that, are you blind? Are you crazy? You don't see that you're walking with someone with disability? Come this side, there's nothing you're going to get from. And I was hearing it. It was on street. It wasn't night. No. During there, So it's like, you're living, why do you choose a curse? Like, come to, we are the beings that's not supposed to live. Why are you choosing the wrong? Like, you're getting the picture. So that's bad how it is.
Yeah, so this is like an example of like when we're thinking the question of what issues dominate and limit the work, we're like, oh, how do you like even start? Like the work is a lot. So I think this is a great example. I don't even know what to say. Like, it's just enormous. Mm-hmm. And I think the impact that you both have in your communities is amazing.
It's hard to an extent that sometimes, like I mentioned yesterday, you ask yourself, what am I really doing?
Yeah.
Because you push and you reach to an extent that you can't breathe.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing to myself?
Yeah.
But then what fuels me, what encourages me to work again, I have a huge following. I get sweet feedback for those few people who come to my workshops. So I feel like when I give up one day, I'm going to fall with a lot of group of people. And I always feel it's better to change the 3 and the 2 next to me. So that always okay, this is fine. But I always shout with my teacher, the dance teacher, what did you bring me into this? Like, you would have told me that it takes away all my life. Yeah.
So I just yeah, and I just want to add to that in saying that for us to be seen as these people that everybody else look up to is a lot of pressure, and we constantly have to carry that burden of, if we don't do it, who's going to do it, and if we give up, who's going to be there to look up to. And it's a lot for one person to carry sometimes. As much as we love what we do, it's a lot.
That's why we need us much more people
Yeah, to do
around
this.
us to do this with us.
Yeah, or be us even. Yeah.
But I feel like I always say, if they ask me, I always say, first of all, we need to first work on ourselves. By saying that, I mean, if you get close to whoever you get close to, you realize the more we talk to people, the more we share. This is the more we are trying to get this humanity. Like, you get to know that, actually it's more interesting to talk to people than to be in my room watching TV. It's not bad to watch TV. I watch TV a lot. Don't get me wrong. No, but what I'm saying, if we work on ourselves, then things will make sense, and we will put a stone on this building we are trying to put up. Like, everyone has something to do, and everyone out there has something to do, and it's not a lot. Just stop by, friending someone, going to workshops, socialize. Yeah, you'll be impressed by the outcomes. I'm telling you. Yeah.
Do you guys want to talk a little bit about the stereotypes when you travel to Europe?
Really fun conversation.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna let you start.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. Sometimes it makes me laugh. Sometimes it annoys me, because after all this, it's a long travel from Africa, Uganda, to Europe. It's a long travel, so you're tired. You're in a line, in a queue, and passport, and you give your passport, and they're like, "What are you going to do?" And like, "I'm going to dance." And but you're I say, "Yes, I'm tired. I'm going to dance." "Okay, can you dance for us?" Yeah. I'm like, "What?" So yesterday night I was sharing with Helma. We have a very funny dance. Click, 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 click. Why don't you teach me that? Every time they ask me, I stand on my wheelchair and I'm like, click, click, click. That's what I'm going to teach. So, but it's very annoying that you have to prove your life. You have to prove that you're a teacher. You have to prove that you're putting a mileage on this. Ever you have to prove, like, it's a struggle. They ask this stupid question not only to people with disabilities, even to other artists without disabilities.
African artists get that.
You're asked to prove what you're going to do in Europe. Dance for us. And everyone is like, we're getting a show. They're like, guys. Yeah.
And you were also saying that, like, you're assumed to dance African dance because you're
Yeah.
from Africa.
Yeah.
And you were talking
So
about.
for me, I'm from Africa. I was born in Cape Town, but the history of South Africa, Cape Town, is very rich and diverse. And we, just to put it in perspective, we have 12 official languages. So, as much as I'm South African or African, I am a bit of everything. I'm Indian, I'm European, I'm Muslim, I'm a lot of things. I don't look like the typical African person. And
How did I
so,
say look?
so I.
No, I know what you meant. I know
Now we
what you
need
meant.
so my culture is not a culture where we learn African dances, tribal dances. That's not my culture, but I'm from Africa. So when I say I'm a dancer from Africa, I'm supposed to know some traditional dance. I need to be able to do gumboots. I need to do
Pantula.
pantula. Really, I
It's-
know how to
it's-
do those dances. I do, but it's not.
It's the
Not my
picture
culture.
that it's the picture that has been portrayed out there by the news, by whoever is doing it. The picture they put, people think that's what it is, but it's not. It's really very different thing. Yeah, when you come to the ground. Mm.
Looking at me.
So,
Ah,
Because I always tell them, do a little pantula for me. Do you have any questions for them?
I do.
Yeah.
First, I want to say that I feel very blessed and honored to have met you this week. It changed my life in many ways. I have one specific question. I really want to know what inspires you in your work. Like, what inspires you?
so
What are you inspired of?
I'll go first, as I mentioned. But you know, when I did the sharing group, when I started dance, then I changed it to a workshop that people come to ask questions through dance. Like we are dancing, but you're allowed to ask any stupid question. It's like a safe place in a country. So people come, I'm surprised. Like we get over 40 people in the room, and after dancing, we sit in a circle to get feedback. And when you hear those feedback, people are crying and they're confessing. I've always been saying such words to people with disabilities, but I'm even falling in love with such and such a person. So for me, that feedback keeps me moving. That's why even when I don't get some grants, sometimes I still find a way to get this, because this information, I love to listen to it. These people go back and bring more others. That's why I'm thinking of doing that center, because now the room I'm hiring is getting even more smaller for us, So this information, this feedback, people with disabilities say, I always spend time in my room, but now here I dance. I think I'm getting some information that can even be useful in my life. And to me, this is enough for me. It gives me a lot of peace every time I hear this feedback from people. That's why it's hard for me to get out of it.
So do you feel like the community around you inspires you in your artistic work? Or is that separate?
I don't want to say community, because these people come from different area. But I would still say the people who have come to my workshops, the feedback I get, that feedback, those people have fueled my work.
Yeah, and you often talk about the stories that you hear from this.
Because they're beautiful.
Yeah.
They're beautiful, you don't know how it feels when you walk on the road and people think you're a curse. People think, and without telling them, just giving them time to each other, like, I'm locking you in the room for 1 hour, and when you open this room, someone is saying, I'm sorry. You don't know how it feels. Like, it's like, I need to do this more to this country. Like, everyone needs to, So that feedback, I find it very beautiful. I love it.
Christelle, what inspires you?
I do a lot of work with children, and so I get inspired by the reactions that they have. Kids are honest. They have no filter. They're not tainted by the world like adults are. They will say, I like this, I don't like this. This is so cool, I don't know what this is. Shocked by my appearance because it's the first time they see someone in a wheelchair. And I get inspired by the impact that it makes on the kids when they get introduced to inclusion or differently abled people. And I know that it's amazing to have impact or great work that impacts adults or work with adults. It's important. But I think the stronger impact is when we work with the children, because when we work with them, their minds are still forming, their opinions are forming, and when we plant that seed has a longer chance to grow and bloom. Like if you plant a seed in a 7-year-old, they don't have much time to process, or that seed won't grow. And if you plant a seed that early on, it grows and it bears fruits. Um, those children's children will have, hopefully, fingers crossed, a better perspective or understanding of it all. And so I'm inspired by working with kids or creating work for kids. But I equally create work for adults because you cannot just make as if they don't exist and if that work does not exist. But I love creating work for children. I love the interaction that comes from performing for kids. You will hear them screaming from the auditorium. You will hear one crying. You will hear one saying, like you just hear, they just say what they feel. So yeah.
If I can just say something, before I forget it, I might forget it. It's very important. This is a message for the parents in the room. I'm begging you, let's not kill that in the children. This is what I'll give you an example. When you're walking in the street, you meet a mother with a child, and they say, "Mom, look at her, look at him." We parents, what we do, we like, shh, shh, don't do that. That's really, really very wrong. Why am I saying that? We have to stop it because immediately you're putting a wrong image in these children's head. You're portraying disability as a shame, has something that is not, has to be like, you don't even have to put it out in your mouth. So immediately you've planted another seed apart from this good seed. Now you're removing this seed and putting a black seed. Like, we have to stop. Like, let children be children. They're curious, they love to learn. I'll give you an example. I have a sweet son, and he's 3 years old. And I've never sat, I was like, he's still young, when he's the right age, I'll tell what, you know. But one day, we were sitting in the cafe, and I was standing, and I was getting my crutch. And he asked me, "Why do you need that? Why don't I have one?" And I explained, this, I got this condition, I can't walk with my leg because one is weak, blah, 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 blah. And we went somewhere, and there was a person with a disability. He was standing, and my son just stood and he ran, and he picked his crutch and said, "Here, you need it." "Yeah, you need it. My father needs it too." The guy was smiling. I was like, that's good. I melted where I was. And every time I'm standing, every time we're going somewhere, we're going into my car, it's like, "Dad, you forgot your thing," you know. So to me, kids learn, they always find their ways to learn. So let's not take that away from them. Let's allow them to learn. Let us let kids be kids. Yeah, I think it's important. Let's not take that away. We do that. I see that a lot on street. Yeah. And every time I meet children, they ask me, I'm like, "Yes, I'm changing one more person." I tell them I find the way how to make it not scary, but they understand that, this is precious to you. I need to ask you to touch it. You know, so yeah. I do not want to forget that. Sorry. Thank you, Krista. Yeah. Please, let's talk. Come on,
Well,
talk to us.
Joseph, we only have like a minute left, so if anybody has like a yes and no question to ask, because they can talk. No, thank you so much, Christelle and Joseph. I can't even, like, working with you two is like my highlights of my week. So I'm looking forward to. What are you doing?
No, I don't get such good compliments, so I'm like,
Oh, okay, yeah, it's one of my highlights of my week. So
I can't cry.
yeah, I'm about to start. So
No, you go. No, you go.